Today I'm going to make a chocolate strawberry cake. Basically a chocolate cake with strawberry frosting and maybe a chocolate ganache drizzle on top. Then some fresh strawberries maybe around the edges. We'll see how it all turns out. It's going to be a 6-inch cake. I'm making it for Valentine's Day for my sister. It's a nice little treat, mostly making a strawberry so it's pink and it matches the theme. But overall, hopefully this will come out pretty well. Now we're gonna take all these dry ingredients, which I've pre-measured and pre-prepared, and mix them together into a bowl to see what we can do. So let's go grab a larger bowl and get started. All right, this is the larger bowl I found. I have some nicer bowls laying around, but most of them are dirty and need washed. I've really gotten into baking and cooking lately, and the bowls and dishes are always dirty, it feels like. But let's see if we can mix together all this. With dust of flour, and we got sugar. Gonna be good. And this one is the salt, I believe. Yes, salt. We got the baking soda. Alright. And some cornstarch. And then lastly, for the dry ingredients, we got the cocoa powder. This should be a good cake. Either way, it's a very fine powder. Gotta be careful not to breathe it in. Alright, it's very similar to powdered sugar. But let's tiny whisk it together since I can't find my larger whisk. I'm just gonna it will all become, combined eventually. Probably should have sifted some of these in there because I know it would make it a smoother cake, but the recipe I'm going off of didn't say to do that, so I'm just mixing them all together before we incorporate the wet ingredients. I see the tiny whisk did the job. Alright, everybody, I've gathered most of the wet ingredients. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to toss in a little bit of espresso powder because it just helps, enhance the chocolatey flavor. So I always like to put a little bit of that into my chocolate cakes, even though this recipe didn't call for it. I'll just do about a little bit less than a teaspoon just to, it won't really make it taste like coffee or anything, but it just helps enhance that chocolate flavor, And then for our wet ingredients, we're going to start with some oil, vegetable oil to be more specific. Melted butter, 1 stick. Oh. And we need some vanilla extract, but I never measure my vanilla extract. It's supposed to be like 2 teaspoons of it or something like that, but I'm just going to pour a little bit in. I should, to do the trick. And then we need 2 large eggs. I'm just gonna now we're gonna mix all this together till it's well combined. I'm trying to break up those egg yolks and try to get this going until we're at a decent point of it all being more together. But then we have a few more wet ingredients to add. But we're just gonna try to get this stuff combined the best we can. Try to make sure I'm scraping. You can see I should be using a glass bowl for this. You can tell if you get the bottom all mixed up or not. But ooh, looks very chocolatey and fudgy. 1 cup of buttermilk. Pretty much the only time I buy buttermilk is when I'm doing a recipe that needs it. I'm just gonna use the mixing cup. I put the oil in and just pour about a cup in there. That's about a cup. Always throws me off how thick buttermilk is, but it's not bad. It's supposed to be that way. Now we're just gonna start slowly pouring this in. We'll try to incorporate like part of it before we go the whole way. Make that a little easier on us. Oh, yes. Probably could be doing this in a stand mixer, but it's easier to film this way. And it's less likely to overmix it too. Decent amount of mixing. Now I'll put the rest in. And the final ingredient will be a 1/2 cup of hot water. after all this is mixed in. But, it's gonna be some good cake batter. I'm gonna heat up some water, like a half cup to be specific, and pour it right in and finish mixing. And then we'll have a cake batter ready to pour into the pans. All right, heat up a half cup of water, pour it on there. Always feels kind of weird taking this like, well, batter looked pretty good to begin with, and mix in some hot water into it. But most cake recipes I've done call for that as the final step. Not sure about that as fully. I assume it just like hydrates it a bunch and makes it thinner and should make for a moister cake. I assume, but you know, have to mix all this together. Takes a lot of stirring. Now that is some cake batter right there. Now I'm gonna go get the pans prepared in here. We can pour it in, and then hopefully throw them in the oven. Hopefully they come out pretty good. All right, I got 3 6-inch cake pans because I ordered some and they came in a pack of 3. So, but I'm sure I'll have more batter than what I need for just 2 of them. So I'll have a third one to put the excess batter in. They also came with these little parchment paper like round liners. I'm gonna use those to make it easier to remove them later from the pans. There we go. Oh. Mm-hmm. Looks almost like pudding, you know. That's like good. That should be a good cake batter. Alright. There you are. I slopped a little bit, but I'll try to tidy it up before I put them in the oven. But you like fit these 3 pans perfectly. Oh, look how jiggly. But alright, let's see if we can get these in the oven. Should be about 350 degrees until, you know, done. Since the recipe was for like 8-inch cake, so I can't really go off the time it gave. So I'll just keep checking them. But let's get them in the oven. All right, all 3 are in the oven. So let's, you know, check on them in a little bit. And oh boy, look at that! Oh boy, hopefully I didn't fill them up. I might have filled the pans up a little bit too much. Maybe, I don't know. But hopefully they don't pour over and they solidify before that happens. Alright, I'm gonna take them out of the oven. They deflated a little bit, you know, when I poked them to see if they're done, but I think they seem all done. Alright, I got the cakes out of their pans on a cooling rack to, you know, cool off a little bit more. And I'll deal with it once they're room temperature pretty much. And look, I got a cake leveler so I can chop off the tops hopefully and, you know, get like 3 good little slices that I can stack. But yeah, I did not expect it to deflate so much, but I might have overcooked them a little bit. I was trying to make the frosting at the same time. But hopefully it will still all turn out all right. It's like, you know, I put food coloring in it to make it pink, you know, for Valentine's Day and all that. But the strawberry flavoring isn't really coming through. Because I didn't know that dried strawberries and freeze-dried strawberries were 2 different things. Ugh, man, you know, live and learn, I guess, you know. So, but I'll have like fresh chopped strawberries on top of it, which will give you that strawberry flavor, so it'll be fine. It's just right there. It's mostly just a pink buttercream at this point, but you know, some fresh chopped strawberries on top, and it will all come together. Still should be a pretty good cake. All right, everybody. I have the first cake layer, you know, down on here, you know, yeah. Cut the top off, you know, a little bit dividend center, but whatever. And I also got this new, like, you know, cake. Cake like it's like a Lazy Susan type deal, but you know, also it has a lid you can put on top to keep the cake all nice when it's ready. But so now I just have to take these other 2, maybe level them out, and I'll put down frosting on here, and then make the layers, and then I can try to do the whole, you know, crumb coat and all that fun stuff. So let's see if we can do it. You know, this is where I am not as good as most people in terms of doing this kind of thing. But this is going to be the most I've tried, though. Now I have a good way to decorate more easily or to frost it without having to, you know, before I didn't really have anything that could spin like this. So let's see what we can do. Oh, yeah, come on. Get in there, cut. There it goes. There we go. Oh, there it is. So I got through that one. Yeah, take some of these pliers here. See, I don't feel like I didn't quite cut deep enough to fully get rid of the divot in the center. That's pretty good. Not too bad. Also make sure this maybe gets that divot going better. Okay, and come on, there we are. Get through that. There we go. Once I get through the first, like the outer coating, which is a little tough and crispy almost. Okay. Okay, so it should be a little bit lower. Going to, try to save the offcuts. All right, so this layer is a little skinnier possibly. So I need to frost the top here. Actually, I think the trick I learned for this top one, use the bottom of the cake as the top of the cake, Oh god, okay. Because then the top is really flat then. Okay. Oh, this has to be the most flattest, evenest, if that's the word, cake I've ever actually built. It's hard for you to see that angle, but if I can, I don't know if I want to try picking it up here. Hold on. Alright, we're gonna come down here. Look at that. It's pretty good.
Remember her as she was, because it all goes downhill from here.
This is the first time we're gonna make like a sort of a smaller, slightly taller cake like this, or 6-inch cake. All right, let's see. I also have one of these to try to help smooth things out. Yeah. It's like the force of it just to make them want to slide. Maybe I should have set it more. Oh my God, what the hell? Why is it sliding off like that? Maybe it's a little too warm still. Oh no, the whole thing fell apart. No, damn it. Oh, this is a disaster now. I got like a cake blowout here.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Guys, it all went horribly wrong. And look at it. It collapsed. I took the top layer and turned it into this dinky, horrible cake. Oh, at least it tastes good. But it's horrible. I don't know why. It just collapsed under its own weight. I couldn't stop it. I might never post this video. I wanted to at least give it a conclusion. Oh, it's so bad. I don't know. I think this is what the cake's going to be for tomorrow. I need to try to spruce it up somehow. But this is, it actually tastes really good though. But it's so sad. I stopped crying long enough to film this. I'm so upset. I don't know anymore. And it looked so good for 2 seconds until it didn't. I don't know what happened. I think maybe I didn't let it cool 100%. And also it was a very moist and kind of very tender cake maybe, which wasn't structurally sound enough to hold all the layers on top. But I didn't think it was that heavy. Well, it's failure. Alright. Ta-da! After calming down a little bit and just trying to make things salvageable, I took the top layer of the cake that was still basically a cake and prettied it up. And then I took like some strawberry puree that I made with then some slices of strawberry and tried to make a fun design and did some piping, bag stuff around the edges. So it's not what I really envisioned, but it's a decent little strawberry chocolate cake. With the rest of the cake that was destroyed, I made cake pops. Just took the rest of it and fully mushed them up into just some balls and so it's just when life gives you lemons, make cake pops. But I think I've salvaged things the best I can salvage them. So, happy Valentine's Day! Yay!
Alright everybody, I'm gonna film a little after the fact outro to the video here, since I was very distraught after all of that, and didn't have much I wanted to say afterwards. But now it's been a few days, so the cake was decent in the end for what it ended up being. It's not the beautiful 6-inch, nice little tall cake I planned it to be, but overall it was just a much shorter in the end. And also here's a little cross section in this photo here, but you can see the frosting on top is way too thick. There's like way too much frosting. But yeah, mostly because there's supposed to be a lot more cake underneath it than what I ended up with. But it was just a disaster. And the cake, I mushed the rest of it all up into cake pops, basically, or like truffles or whatever you want to call them, and drizzled some chocolate on top. And they were actually pretty good, whatever. They came out alright. I tried to salvage the situation as best I could, but it was a learning experience for sure. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but I think it was a combination of a lot of little things. Like, I don't think I let the cake fully cool before I started frosting it. It was pretty cool, but still maybe a little warm. And then and the recipe I used, originally was meant to be like an 8-inch cake, like with maybe a couple layers or whatever. And I adapted it. I just thought I could just even turn it into a 6-inch cake, pour it into 6-inch cake pans. But maybe that made things a little too unstable because the base would be a lot smaller at that point. And the bottom layer also had like a crack in it when I started building the thing. So I should not have made that the bottom layer. I should have made the top layer maybe, so maybe I would have made it more structurally sound. But overall, the cake was very moist, and I think the recipe just wasn't designed to be this kind of a cake. Maybe? I don't know. But I've learned many things. So it was it turned out okay in the end, but expectation versus reality, am I right? So things, and all of that that whole day just did not go well for me. So it was one final nail in the coffin to just, oh my god, I was just like over it. So next time I'll try again, learn from my mistakes, and we'll see how it all plays out. But for now, I was utterly defeated in my baking endeavors. Don't know how many people are going to see this video, but if you watched it and enjoyed it to the end and saw my struggles and my pain, hit that like button to help cheer me up, and maybe subscribe to this channel. It's a new channel me and my sister put together to post cooking videos and stuff. So this is another semi-failure of a video, where the last one I posted, making some cookies, didn't turn out exactly like I wanted either. I really like baking, but I'm not the greatest at it. So I'm trying. We're gonna keep trying until we get decent. Hey, as long as it tastes good in the end, sometimes that's all you can hope for. So everybody, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe out there, and I will see you next time. Bye.